Wow, here we are again, folks. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. We're going to look at the writers of the New Testament today. The Bible, who's who in the Bible? Who is who in the Bible? Get the book. Look it up on your web, on the website. Find the books. And it'll be very, very inexpensive. It'll be a little, you can buy them big, little, of all kinds. And just get it, who's who in the Bible. And begin to look at those. And then as we go forward, the Gospels. What are the Gospels? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are the four Gospels in the New Testament. And they are here, be given to us by God. The book of Matthew is written by Matthew, and Mark by Mark, and Luke by Luke, and John by John. And as you find, you get the who's who, and you find out who they are, and when Jesus called them, and how they got in the young church, and they were part of the action of the young church. And then we have the book of Acts. The book of Acts tells us about the church and the action of the apostles in that day. And then we have the letters to the young churches, which are called epistles. And epistles are the letters to the Christians at Rome. And then we had the first letter to the Christians at Corinth. Now, the last thing I say, Rome, Corinth, whatever, is the name of the book. And then the second letters to the Christians at 2 Corinthians, that will be in the New Testament. And the letters to the Christians at Galatia. That was Pontus, Galatia was a place where they started a church, and there was Christians there. Just like I'm in Grantville, Georgia, and there's churches here, and there's churches in Newton, there's churches in LaGrange, there's churches in West Point, there's churches everywhere. And these were places they had started churches. And then at Ephesus there was a church, and these letters were written to them, and they're one of the epistles. And then at Philippi there was a church there, the church of the Philippians. That's where the Philippians were, in the Philippi. And then Colossians, that's where the Colossian people were. The Colossians were there. And they were at Colossae. And then there was a place called Thessalonica, and the Christians were called Thessalonians there. So there's 1 Thessalonians and 2 Thessalonians there. And then the letter to Timothy. Now the 13 of these letters were, it's 2 letters to Timothy, 1st and 2nd Timothy. These letters were written to these churches by the head guy, Paul the Apostle. He is the one that sent out disciples and workers to be in places. And then there's Titus. And Titus is a guy that went out. He was a young man. Paul had won him to the Lord, and he sent him out to start a church. And then there was Philemon. And Philemon went out. And then these are letters to these guys on how to run their churches. And then there were letters to the Jewish Christians. These letters were listed, and they're written down in the book of Hebrews, which I'm in a great, long, not difficult, but interesting and intense study in the book of Hebrews. And right now, and been in it for a while. And it's beautiful. It's a good thing. And then there's James, the letter to James. James was another one of the people that went out. And then there was letters of Peter. Now, Peter wrote these letters, and there's 1st and 2nd Peter. Now, Peter was the guy, if you remember, when you see the scene about Jesus going to the cross, that Peter had denied him, cursed and swore and said, I don't know the man. Well, Peter hadn't been saved yet. Before I got saved, you'd have talked to me about Jesus, I'd have cursed and swore at you, and did curse and swore at preachers. I maligned them, I did all kinds of things. I had to go apologize to some preachers. I had treated them so bad when I got saved. And then the letter to John. And as you look at it, there is the letter to John, 1 John, 2nd, and 3rd John. And those are letters, little small letters. And then there's the letter to Jude. And that's a little small book. And then there's the book of Revelations. And the book of Revelations is the final book in the New Testament. Now, if you get, I'll do this. I'll take the liberty to do this. And don't call me and try to harass me and say you're a nut and all this and that. But if you're interested in some study books, I have a library that I will give you access to. I'm not going to let you carry a bunch of them out of here. If you want to carry one, do that book and bring it back. Be fine. If you do one and do the book and take it and don't bring it back, I'm going to ask the Lord to do something to you, because that's why I have my books. I have them because I take care of them, and I don't just turn them loose. I've got books that I've had for years, and I don't just turn them loose. You can't replace them. I can't replace this book. I've got right here that I'm talking to you out of right now. I cannot replace this book. This book was written in 1960. The book that I studied today was written in 1950. It was written in 47 and 48 and printed in 1950. And I have a lot of old books, and I don't like my books to get away, my spiritual books, to get away and not come back. This man right here, J.B. Phillips, is one of the best guys that you can follow in the Bible. And I love his work, and he does great work. So I'm covered the New Testament here. I'm not going to try to cover the New Testament, the Old Testament, in one of these excerpts right now in a mini-serp, 15 minutes. I can't do it. It would take probably 5 or 6 mini-serps to do it in that. And my time has come and gone. No, it hasn't yet. I'm looking at seconds. As you get older, your eyes get older. Sometimes you wonder where you are. But God chose every single one of these men in New Testament days in the writing to put these books together for us, for you and I. They're put together for us. And by the way, they're not going to fade away. Here in the New Testament, the very heart and the core of Christian faith and Christian living is right here in these little books for us. Christians are far more at one in their outward divisions that would be implied. A lot of people think that Christians are at odds with each other with all these Bibles and everything. That's why I like to stick to the one that we know came off the Gutenberg press, was the first book printed. And so we know that, and we want to stick with that. From this unquestionable evidence of a fundamental unity, we derive not only great comfort, but great hope for the future. God has put me on here that I could give other people the hope that I have, and the hope that many others have. We're going to knock this one down at a little over 7 minutes. So this is a real mini one. And we'll see you next time. Bye.